itself for its biggest vaccination drive, which will start from the 1st of May, which means that if you're living in India and are above the age of 18, now you're eligible to go ahead and take that vaccine jab. Till now, only people above the age of 45 with or without comorbidities were allowed to the vaccine. We currently have two vaccines, AstraZeneca's Covishield and Bharat Biotech's Covaxin. You also have the Sputnik V, which has got an emergency use authorization. But even as we gear up for this biggest vaccination drive, there is a lot of concern in terms of the mutations that we're seeing with the virus, and many questions now being raised whether these vaccines really work against these variants or not. To answer all of those questions and to allay some concerns, I have with me Jeremy Camille, a virologist who is now joining us to help us understand the patterns that he studied and what we can learn from what we've seen in places like the United States, United Kingdom, so on and so forth. Jeremy, thank you so much for taking our time and joining us here.
It's my pleasure and honor to be with you today. Thank you for having me on.
Okay, let me get straight to it. Jeremy, everybody knows about what's really happening in India. The second wave has hit us very hard. But as I've said this to a lot of guests, we're not an isolated case. Most countries have seen a second wave. But the biggest concern in India is the kind of cases that we're seeing, the death rate that we're seeing is not matching up to our vaccine, in terms of the vaccinations that are being done. And thus, as we prepare ourselves for this biggest vaccination drive, when anybody above the age of 18 can go ahead and take that vaccine jab, the biggest question is all these variants that we see, whether it's a South African variant, whether it's some other variant, and now there is a new Sri Lankan variant, which is saying that the virus can be airborne for as long as 60 minutes. I want to understand from all the studies that you've seen, the data that you've worked with, and the patterns that you've seen, how simplistic is it to understand, do vaccines work on all these mutants?
I think the most important take-home message for everyone is that viruses always mutate. We expect to see variants, and we also expect that the vaccines that are approved now, I'm very familiar with the ones in the United States. I'm familiar with AstraZeneca's, I'm familiar with Sputnik's. Those vaccines are very effective against the variants when it comes to preventing the worst outcomes, which are hospitalization and death. Some of these vaccines, I'm not going to oversimplify for your viewers. Infection and disease are two different things. So we are concerned as scientists that some of these variants now are able to get past the first layer of defense, which are your neutralizing antibodies, and they can cause a very mild infection in some people who've recovered from COVID. Most of the time, the vaccines prevent even that from happening. But compared to the original virus, they're a little bit better at even maybe evading certain of those vaccines. However, that's very different than causing severe disease. That's very different than causing death. When someone has no defense at all, no vaccine, has not had COVID before, they're a sitting duck. They're very, very susceptible to the worst outcome. So I would recommend strongly that someone get a vaccine as quickly as it's offered to them.
Jeremy, what I wanted to understand, something what you said is very interesting. A lot of experts are saying very important to understand the difference between infection and disease. I want to understand how dangerous is the infection spread in terms of these mutants, because what's really happening in India now is that there was a time about 2 months ago when we'd seen the cases come down, but over the last 1 month, it has been a tsunami of sorts. And our medical infrastructure is completely collapsed. There are no beds, ICUs, ventilators. The latest being the oxygen crisis where patients have to run pillar to post, and many now having to resort to treat themselves back at home. So I want to understand how really dangerous is this new variations of mutants that we're seeing that we're dealing with?
I would say that the mutants are less likely an issue than the human behavior. So yes, we expect that some of these mutants are probably a little bit better at infecting humans than the previous original virus, but we're talking about small differences. Even if you talk about doubling the ability to infect a human, in biology, that's a small difference. The big difference is people giving up on restrictions or feeling like there has been I've seen reports in the media, even a very irresponsible professor from Stanford University, a prestigious university, saying things like a couple months ago in January that most Indians had already been infected and recovered and you shouldn't vaccinate. I mean, this is very, very wrong, incorrect, and frankly stupid advice. And then people feel like, oh, I'm fine. And Indian people are naturally resistant to the virus because of our culinary traditions or something like that. This is farcical and dangerous and wrong. But it probably led people to feel that, oh, we can all get together with our families and friends and have a big party or do our cultural event, our religious event, and not worry about masks. This is driving a lot of infections, and that sadly is resulting in unnecessary and preventable deaths. Remember, most of this virus, whether you want to have a debate about airborne or not airborne, that most of this virus spreads indoors when people crowd together in poorly ventilated places. The virus cannot come in through your window and get you.
Yeah.
It's gonna get you when you're on a crowded bus with other people not wearing masks, and if the windows are closed. So open your windows, increase ventilation, and if you're mixing with people who you don't live with, wear a mask and ask that they wear a mask as well, because the vaccines are going to take a while to get everyone. And the minute you get the vaccine, it doesn't protect you in one day. It takes about 12 to 14 days to start to see a little bit of protection. And I would personally recommend that people get the vaccines that are the adenovirus vector vaccines. I do not recommend inactivated vaccines personally, but I would defer to your government and their authorities. I personally have not seen evidence that the inactivated vaccines are very impressive. I would rather have that than nothing. But the adenovirus vector vaccine like AstraZeneca and Sputnik will probably give you better results than an inactivated vaccine. That's the advice I would have for your viewers. But don't wait, get the first vaccine you can.
Absolutely, Jeremy. And that is something that we say almost every day, that whoever is eligible, please go ahead and take that vaccine jab. Jeremy, the other aspect that I want to discuss with you is something that we've heard from the past 1 year, that the minute you get the vaccine, more and more people become somewhat safe. And even if they do contract the virus, they will have milder symptoms. The idea is also to build a herd immunity so that, lesser number of infections in terms of the cases can be seen. From the pattern that you're seeing, on the 25th of April, we've clocked 3.5 lakh cases. So in that pattern, how soon are you seeing an estimate of when India can have a relative sense of herd immunity?
I think that's a little bit above my pay grade. My mathematical skills are not there. You have a large population in India. It's going to take a long time to get everyone immunized. And these variants can still sometimes spread depending on the vaccine and the number of people. There's a lot of variables involved. The sad thing is this virus is going to be with us for a while, and until everyone gets usually 2 jabs, right? You need to have 2 shots spread apart in time. It's going to be, I would guess, at least a couple months before India will even have a clear view of when it can become under control. I would be patient. And just if everyone follows the masking guidelines and social distancing, then you can alleviate the effects on the economy. You don't have to. I mean, right now you might be looking at a good time to shut down with this many deaths and infections to level with you. But eventually you can, if people just follow the guidelines, wearing masks, getting the vaccine as soon as they can, opening the windows and allowing ventilation, not crowding unnecessarily indoors. Those following those guidelines allows you to keep your economy more open than you would otherwise. So it's kind of funny, the paradox of, oh, we want to open everything, but then in effect, when your hospitals get crowded and you run out of oxygen, people don't want to go out and shop. They're afraid. So
it is a catch-22 situation. I agree with you. Jeremy, the other aspect that I want to understand from you, and this is very interesting that we see in India in terms of testing. The RT-PCR test was seen as the standard across, all every infection, every person. But what we are seeing most recently is that an RT-PCR test also is now giving up a lot of false negatives as well. So if you have the symptoms also, the report is coming out negative. But when you do a CT scan of the lungs, so on and so forth, you're seeing that all possible symptoms are still there. At a time like this, is it still the best option to go ahead with? What do you feel about the various tests that we have? I also want to understand your view as far as the antibody tests are concerned, because there is a divided jury. Many feel it's absolutely not useful in a time like this, but many feel that maybe if nothing else is available, it still can be used as one of the options.
Well, you have to be very careful with both these types of tests, because unfortunately, when you do have a good test is a good test. All right. So there are high quality antibody tests and there are high quality RT-PCR tests. And then you have business people who want to sell someone something. So you have to make sure that the government is doing a good job regulating the tests and making sure that only approved tests are being given, because it's really tragic. But people like to make a buck and they will play off of fear to sell someone a test. If you feel sick and you're having trouble breathing, you may not want to trust a test that tells you you're negative if you have every symptom of COVID. I would just be very, very cautious, and I would make a plea to the regulatory authorities and to the business people of India to try to be as honest as you can and talk to your top scientists, the people who are skeptical and hold to a very high quality standard, and make sure you're using tests that are rigorous and approved. Because I can tell you in the United States, we from various companies now in the beginning of the pandemic did not have, but we very good antibody tests. And of the a lot of them came from laboratories. So the methods are all published, and there are clear criteria to figure out whether a test is good. So I would support the Indian people, top scientists in India, and government, whatever you can to make sure any high quality tests are given, and that if someone's selling a fraudulent test, that they get spoken to and warned that if you exploit someone who's suffering, there should be a consequence to you.
I think that's also an important advice, to also know that all these scams that are also running can also be called out at a time when every test is very, very important. Every minute, every life is extremely important. Jeremy, thank you so much for taking our time, helping us understand the patterns that we've seen abroad and what the strategy for India now needs to be. Of course, data, genome sequencing, vaccination, that really needs to be our way forward if we need to contain the spread that we're seeing in the second wave. I'll leave the conversation there. Thank you so much for taking our time. Here's hoping you stay safe, you and your loved ones as well.
You too. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.